Well, we're back again. Thank you for staying with us. Sadly, though, we've got the news of another major national disaster on our road. And I'm going to show you a picture of the Kintampo wreckage, as I showed you before we left. Now, this is a representation of what is left of a number of people on two vehicles. Now, those two vehicles collided. It's just one accident. Well, we're hearing scores of people have been killed, not by a gun, as may happen in other places, but by vehicles on a road. Well, that's the sad reality for us here. The incident involved two buses on the Kintampo-Techiman road in the Bono East region. The accident occurred at dawn today. We're told at about 2 a.m. Ampoma was as a result, or Ampoma is the area, and we're told this was as a result of the head-on collision between two passenger buses. The Kintampo Divisional Commander ACP Joseph Entry Jewu has been speaking to us.
Around 1:40 p.m. We had information that two buses have collided at Amoma Junction here, a village called Akura. Why is climbing the hill? This one was traveling from Accra to Bolga, whilst the one bench was from Garutimpani to Kumasi. In fact, nobody knew what happened, but eyewitness in the other car stated that when they were coming, they didn't know what happened. They only saw that the car was set up this. We collided with this one. So that's what we were doing. As of now, so many casualties. We all observed. So we are trying to maybe clear the road.
Do we know the number so far, the number of persons who...
this one, I think the VIP man is here. This one is about 50 plus. Because we saw some children, I think it would be 50 plus.
50 plus dead.
Pardon?
Dead. How many dead out of the 50 plus?
We can't estimate now because we are now taking some to the hospital.
And the other one?
The other one to maybe the same 60 plus. We all the same to Techiman, some to Techiman.
The rest have died. So roughly, do we know the number, the suspected number to have lost their lives?
We can't estimate now unless we check from the road. So let's clear the road before.
The injured have been taken to Techiman and Kintampo. Is that what it is?
Techiman, and Kintampo. They have been sent to the hospital. Some are alive. We will send them to the hospital. We are here to
So both the injured and the dead, you can't tell us?
No, we can't.
Thank you.
We'll be getting some update on the ground shortly, but let's tell you the situation at the Royal VVIP station where one of the buses is stationed. There's a lot of grief there, we can report. MFA Etiamwa Eli visited the station a while ago.
This is the Royal VVIP terminal at the Kwame Nkrumah interchange. And it is the very place the VVIP vehicle, which was involved in the Kintampo accident, took off yesterday at around 3:53 p.m. It was expected to arrive at Bolga at 7 a.m. this morning, but that didn't happen. You and I know the story by now. I am here to find out what the station managers make of the situation, and passengers as well, particularly those who also be leaving this terminal to Bolga using the same stretch. How do they feel about the situation? I have one such passenger with me who will be setting off very soon to Bolga using one of the vehicles from this terminal. To tell us more, good afternoon, what's your name?
Fidelis Nanyela.
Okay, you said you'll be traveling to Bolga this afternoon. When is your vehicle taking off?
It will be leaving around 4 o'clock.
Okay. So I'm sure you heard about the Kintampo incident. How do you feel about it, knowing that you are going to be using the same stretch?
I feel very fearful picking the vehicle from Accra to the north. Honestly, the roads within the northern part is not good. That stretch of road is an accident-prone zone. And I don't know what our leaderships are doing about that particular road. You see that it's a busy road. They are supposed to expand the road so that more vehicles can easily move as they come and flow. But the road is too tiny, especially around the Kintampo where the curve is. It's a very dangerous area, and it's not good. I'm a student of Winneba, and because of the strike issues, I learned they might not reopen very early. So I'm just heading towards there. Assuming I don't get there, mostly these buses move towards there. And with the exception of here and OA, when you don't get, it is difficult for you to get a straight means to Bolga. And VVIP is one of the stations that is located within the area that you can easily get means if you are proceeding to Boku or if you are proceeding to Garu. And where the VVI station is nearer to my place. So I have no option but to pick the VVIP. But on the part of the safety with the concern to the station managers, I have not made any inquiry. I only pray to God that He will send us safely and protect us. I believe that God is the protector of life, God is the giver of life. But our leadership needs to do a lot more. They are just disappointing.
It's such an unfortunate situation. So we are praying that God, the lost souls, their souls will rest in perfect peace. And then we pray that such an incident should never happen again. Yes.
But aren't you concerned about the means of transport and the people who drive you to that destination? I guess while sitting here, you are waiting for this a bus from this terminal to take you. Aren't you concerned about the state of the bus, even the driver who will be taking you? What is it that you are concerned about?
What I'm going to say is that the drivers should drive with care and concern, and then we should also pray to God for a safe travel, because sometimes the accident happens through unfortunate situations, and sometimes it's due to careless driving.
Kintampo-Techiman, the accident in the so Kintampo-Techiman, Bolega Road, Tamale Road, no accident in the so I did mess around and say, a coin omunye, a coin baby to and a can say so at the greater casino. It says coin one and Tampana road for no machine or munica in free, and the accident tells you because a car is saying, yeah. Ebi akana say see and China na de sa driver na overtaking or the baba be share ye car na nam road na so and kebi accident na emba santi
driver na owu ye no enra ohu no ha ansa na okọ no ohu no kire me nkomo be na mudi na onu ankasa na otese na adwi mu ati oye fine
me pacho driver no owu ye na e friend na moako na driver no owu ye no nura lotinistia na nim osi form na oba obegina ha na me twa ticket me na me ticket manager enti obaya na mitwa take na mihunu sa mo akwada na waye din anti me kotare na chi ana na menini di agro sa ada na waye din sa na so enye hwe enti ka ni nyina ya makra me ko cheke ka no mo bia tena sena ka ni betunu me gina ni nchen so ma miska kra na o che me so enne o kwa aba enti okoba o ye den oba be ma miska no so okay no problem enne o continue o he free a me no kra me ni di agro e nyina ba nura no obaya no waye din na o teka no.
Also here, the drivers are generally mourning the driver who passed. I understand he's a very experienced driver who has worked in this terminal for close to 6 or 7 years, and he's a very calm person. As to whatever led to the incident, they can't tell, except to say that it is not the fault of the said driver.
Emefa Etiamwa Eli there earlier at the VIP, Royal VVIP station there where that vehicle took off and did not return again. We'll be speaking to the Minister for Roads and Highways on what's being done to address the worrying trend, especially when it comes to the statistics of road carnage. In the last hour or so, we're hearing of another serious accident somewhere in the central region. Correspondent Richard Kojo Nyako is on the line with me. Let's see if we can get some more on that one as well. Hello, Richard.
Hi, Gifty.
What do we know about this latest information?
Well, so it involved two cars, a Metro Mass Transit bus from Accra heading towards Cape Coast, and then a Yutong bus from Takoradi heading towards Accra. And another car was also involved, but was overtaking the Yutong bus, and in the process, the accident happened. 7 persons have been confirmed dead by the police, and many injured. Some have been sent to the Winneba Trauma Specialist Hospital and then the Sopon Hospital. The road has been cleared now because the accident, generated some kind of traffic, and so they had to get all of those things from the road. You see parts of the bodies of people, a lot of them. So you see blood, splattered on the road and all of that. So it was really, really a gory one.
That's indeed bizarre. But do we know, have a confirmation of the number of people who have been killed in this accident?
Yes, the confirmation came from the police. The Winneba police confirmed so, and then the Sopon or the Mankessi Divisional Police Command, they were all there, so they confirmed so that, it claimed 7 lives. And the others are also, some of them are in very critical condition, because if you look at the nature of the accident and how the cars look like now, it suggests that those that are even injured are in some kind of serious situation, and so they are working on them. That's what the medical officials.
Richard, thank you very much for that update. Richard Kojonyako is our Central Regional Correspondent. Says 7 people have been killed in another accident on the Cape Coast road there. Well, that's something serious, and I'll have you know also that we have in the studio the National Road Safety Commission's representative Kwame Kodua-Etuahene, who is the head of their communications. He's in the studio with me. We'll be talking to him momentarily. But President Akufo-Addo has been also commenting on this very worrying situation. We can hear the president now, and then when we come back from that, we'll continue the discussions. President Akufo-Addo's concern later, but Nana, you're welcome, and let's just start with this conversation. As I indicated, is the head of communication at the National Road Safety Commission, Kwame Kodua-Etuahene. Let's talk specifically about Kintampo. This is a road that has claimed several lives, and it's a cycle that we are aware of. Isn't it just a matter of intensifying the Road Safety Commission's intervention on this particular road? Wouldn't such intervention have, made sure that these people we have lost today did not die?
Well, good afternoon. Thank you to your good self and your viewers. I think that to begin with, I would like to provide a little bit of update on the incident. When it occurred in the morning, we had to visit the scene through our representatives, and preliminary reports we have gathered. We can confirm that as of this afternoon at 1 o'clock, about 57 lives had been lost out of the total of 108 that were in both buses. We have about 51 survivors and injured in about 3 hospitals in and around the catchment area receiving all kinds of treatment. I think it's about the second time we have recorded a similar incident involving high occupancy commercial passenger vehicles on that stretch.
On this particular Kintampo stretch, just on that, do you have statistics as to how many people we have lost? Let's say at least for between last year and this year.
On that stretch,
yes, please.
On that stretch, no, I'm unable to give specific figures on that.
Well, let me just quickly also indicate that we've got the executive director at the Bureau of Public Safety, Nanaya Kwada, also joining the conversation over the phone. Nanaya, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Do hang on and listen whilst we go along with this conversation. Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, so as I said, I think 2016 thereabouts, there was a similar incident that also involved high occupancy vehicles. And when you begin to have these records, it's a source of worry because of the number of persons or passengers that they carry at a particular point in time or the other. But if you look at the trend, we are worried. The commission is worried and pretty much disturbed. Because we put it in a lot of effort, and I say this based on the data that we have, that if you look at the data for close to 5, 6, 7 years, deaths that are passenger related or high occupancy buses related are beginning to see a certain decline. 5, 7 years ago, if you spoke about pedestrians as the most vulnerable user class, you probably will be talking about passengers as a second. And there's been a decline. I mean, from close to about 24 or 23% to about 17, between 17 and 15%. So a lot of effort has been put into our sensitization.
You said there's been a decline.
Yes, a decline.
Between which periods?
For the last, to be sure, for the last 5 to 6 years. Decline in the passenger related incidents. Is when we look at the user class, pedestrians are the most vulnerable, followed by passengers and motorcyclists. And I'm saying that if you look at the data, the performance in that sector is showing some improvement from about 24 to about 16, 15 on a year. So when you have these kinds of incidents out of the blue, it is very disturbing, and it gets us to begin to reflect on what could be done differently.
Okay.
I think we have been fair, Dorian, to say over time that in that space, in as much as we are unable to say for certain what is a contributory factor beyond the fact that it was caused by a head-on collision, what is also factual is that the commercial passenger transport operations is not as properly regulated as it ought to be.
And that's the point I'll have you hang on. I'll come for us to talk, deal specifically with that as well. But let me bring in the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety, Nanayo Akwada, into this conversation. Nanayo is joining us via Skype. Hello, Nanayo.
Hi, and thank you for having me.
Very, very well. Now, I'm speaking to a representative from the National Road Safety Commission, and Nana Kodua, Nana, I keep calling him Nana, Kwame Kodua Etiahene there, and he's just made a point about regulation of these public transports. I just want to find out from you, do you think it's about time? Because if you look at the trend, U-turn bus, we've heard a lot about this U-turn bus and its involvement in some of these accidents. Are you beginning to feel like others do that really perhaps we should begin to have a look at these buses?
Well, there's no doubt about statistics available to us for the year 2018 indicate that trucks and high occupancy vehicles, which are those buses, coaches, and so on, they are the top 2 culprits or victims of road crashes. And so it's about time that we begin to look at it. But to say that is about time is to more or less brush the issues under carpet. We know that these are the vehicles that when they are involved in road crashes, majority of citizens suffer fatalities, which is why in the LI 180 provision was made for commercial vehicles, registration and re-registration, renewal of licenses, and so on. They changed these registrations against certain provisions, which provisions over time we have failed to implement. And it's the result that we see play out on our roads on a daily basis.
So for you, it's about regulating these commercial vehicles. For me, as a usual or an ordinary citizen, I am at a loss as to what exactly has to go into commercial vehicle regulation. Would you help us, please, Mr. Kodua?
Yes, I mean, consistent with best practice globally. And I mean, first of all, these operators ought to be licensed, registered to provide public service. And we need to take interest in the quality and competence level of their drivers. For instance, if you fly an aircraft, which to our mind is essentially the same as the bus, except for the fact that these travel in our airspace and not on the road. There is no pilot who gets to fly an aircraft without having to go to school every 6 months. Is it the same? Can we say the same of drivers who are in that space.
What I actually want us to talk about, Mr. Kojia, is to look at the specifics of what is it that we're supposed to be doing according to the law.
These transport operators must be licensed on stringent guidelines, and there should be opportunity for an operator's license to be suspended, for instance, given the number of incidents that this operator may have recorded over time. There should be guidelines or conditions for their drivers. There should be guidelines for their vehicles and their fleets. For instance, someone must be interested to try to examine the fleets, whether they correspond beyond their roadworthiness to the law, or whether these vehicles submit to regular, what do you call them, maintenance program and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in this country as of today, there is not much that is being done in that space. So,
is this something that the Road Safety Commission can come in on?
We haven't been shy. We have been very open to speak about these matters for time on end. It is, I agree with Danaya. There's a part of the LI which says this must be done.
So whose responsibility is it? DVLA?
It is not. I mean, the law does not say who. So, but
the law does not say who. How can the law say do something and not provide for who should do it?
The relevant law is the custody of the Ministry of Transport.
So, in your view, as Road Safety Commission, who we hold responsible for this gap or this lapse that we are seeing?
In terms of responsibility, I think that the Ministry of Transport owns the law, the road traffic regulations. And with all intents, maybe we must begin to look at how we bring that part of legislation into effect. Otherwise, we will continue to have this conversation, which is not helpful and healthy for anybody.
And to be frank with you, some people, I mean, you have viewers who get tired because
so
we keep talking about
beyond what we do, Commission, beyond the public sensitization, research, and coordination. Not too long, we have spoken about Cabinet taking steps to renew our mandate to make us an authority. Maybe that may come with that change. Otherwise, as a coordinating body, you can engage these transport operators on all the global best practices on what they must be required to do over a given space. But you cannot
compel them to do what the law says.
Your hands are tied.
Nanaya, this is where I come in. I mean, as someone who is looking out for those of us in the public, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on these, on these revelations here. For me, it's a revelation. I mean, if there are parts of the law, but the law doesn't necessarily say who should implement that part of the law. In fact, for the laws that we have people who are clearly spelled out as implementers, we're not even seeing the implementation. So for the ones that do not have clear implementers, then we certainly have a very big problem. Don't worry, I'll have you come in. You want to clarify that?
Yes, the law says the ministry or any of its agencies. I know that until recent, the ministry was looking to set up another agency, the Road Transport Authority, that may be empowered to do so. But others have argued that until that is done, the ministry may well also look at the existing agencies and may assign that responsibility on a temporary basis, either the Commission or DVLA. But the reality is that to the extent we continue to have that gap, there is very little anybody can do as far as putting a certain measure of control on that sector.
Okay, so Nanaya, I'm back to you for your thoughts. Regulating commercial vehicles, looking specifically at this area, the drivers, the quality of the vehicles themselves, you know, the maintenance of the vehicles. We don't seem to have a specific agency that's dealing with that as of now.
Well, I think Mr. Tiahini clarified that aspect. He's assigned as an agent to aspect that probably he's well versed in already. Let me just add to it that in our 2007-2018 Public Safety and Crime Report, which we launched in November last year, we isolated specifically Regulation 125 in the Road Traffic Regulations of 2012, that's the LI 2180, which speaks on continuing education of commercial vehicle drivers, and Regulation 163 on general speed limits for stricter enforcement. Now, in Regulation 125, the law is clear and unambiguous. We argue that it is a low-hanging fruit. And if you indulge me, I'll just run through. Regulation 125.1. It says that a licensed or registered commercial road transport operator shall organize periodic retraining or refresher courses for its members. In 2, that is where the authority and national road safety are mentioned. It says that a person licensed as a commercial vehicle driver shall attend at least one refresher course driving and road each year, organized by a certified institution approved by the licensing authority, in which case we are talking TVLA, in consultation with the National Road Safety Commission. This is just 2. There is 3 and 4. So these are low-hanging fruits that as a nation we can go for.
Yes,
it is nothing that is far-fetched. We have offered in November last year, we did mention that if, as a nation, we begin to focus on just Regulation 125 and 168 of the airline, to be able to halve our accidents.
I'll have you say. I'll have you say that again. Can you say that again? What you just said, the last words you said. Can you say that again?
I said that if we can enforce Regulation 125 and 163 of the airline, which are low-hanging fruits, we can halve our road crashes in this country.
I see.
It's not far-fetched. It's not rocket science.
It's not rocket science. It's just about enforcing it, you say. Mr. Kodia seems to have is itching to say something on that, and
I agree with Nana
going to bring him in
to some extent. But you see, that part of the law he read is conditional. It's conditioned.
What's the condition
here?
Yes,
the condition is that these operators must be licensed.
But they are licensed, aren't they?
I mean, they are not. They don't. They no. That's the point I made.
Licensed as in the driver, because the driver
the operator, is. So the VIP, the GPRTO, the Protoa, and all the commercial operators we have. No, there's no body of state. I mean, there's no agency of state that have issued them with an operating permit.
Okay.
Is that okay? And to be able to implement that part of the law you speaks of, they must that gap must be addressed.
Okay.
So until you begin to, it's a condition. So that when you go back at the end of the tenure of the permit, you'll be able to ask whether you have done this. If you haven't done that, it's a basis to have your license suspended.
Okay.
So the starting point is to be able to
put these operators together
exactly.
and regulate their activities. But whose responsibility is it?
That's a discussion we have, and the law says the minister or its accredited agents,
including your
yes,
agency.
of course. But there's a lawful. The commission cannot begin on its own without any force of the law.
What do you think can be done under the circumstances we find ourselves in terms of going forward? Now, when when I ask you whose responsibility is it now, or who can take up regulating the work of these operators, and you said, well, that's the discussion.
I think what is being done at present is that the Ministry of Transport, thankfully, has taken the step through cabinet to have the commission transformed into an authority. It's been pending for God knows how long. It's a discussion that we've had with successive regimes since 2009, 2010. From the last approval, my understanding is that the bill has gone to the Attorney General's Department for fine-tuning. I would want to imagine that when it comes back, this very important responsibility, which is in the airline, may be entrusted upon the authority. So until that is done, we may continue to engage these operators. But in the medium to long term, it is a solution that we must find.
Let me go back to Nanayao. Nanayao, you've heard his intervention, Mr. Kodia's intervention on the law you've just read to us and what you think it means. He's saying that it is conditional.
Well, I respectfully want to disagree with Mr. Tiahine. If you take the law, like I said, it's not ambiguous at all. There is sub-regulation 1, which talks about a licensed or registered, operator. Sub-regulation 2 talks about a person licensed as a commercial vehicle driver.
A person licensed.
This is not talking about
okay.
corporate body.
So hold on, Anaya. Let me make that quickly. Let me make that
License.
quickly clear to Mr. Kodia here. He's saying that is in the 125. It says that's where your condition comes in. But when you go for the 123, he's saying that it refers to a person. And these are all individuals who have driving licenses.
Yes, but you see, it is always advisable to look at the law as a whole. If you take part in isolation, you may not be able to discern the true intention of the lawmaker. In fact, that whole aspect of the law requires for these operators to be licensed, and as part of the conditions, if you happen to be a driver who works with a licensed or registered operator, you must submit yourself for that regular training.
Okay, Nanaya, please go on. We keep interrupting your flow, but that's just to get the clarifications as we go along. So go on with the point that you were making, and let's wrap this up.
Yeah. So in disagreeing with Etiahene, my good friend there, that the law is clear. It tackles the operator and it deals with the driver. So it says that the operator shall organize periodic retraining or refresher courses for its members. That's one. And then it talks about the person who is licensed as a commercial driver who must, and the law says the driver shall attend at least one refresher course driving and road safety each year. So that there is no ambiguity about that. And if you look at sub-regulation 4, it says that a commercial vehicle driving permit shall not be renewed or upgraded unless the applicant shows evidence of compliance with sub-regulation 2, which requires him to attend at least one refresher course on road safety and driving in a year. So these are low-hanging fruits. We don't need to go to the States and back to implement this. We must immediately do this. Mr. Tiahine, we were together at the U.S. Embassy a week ago, doing a presentation. And we all agreed that the lives that we are losing on the streets daily, it's on our roads daily, is alarming. And that though generally, if you compare Ghana's performance to other West African neighbors, we are doing well. We can even do more better. Why should we wake up one morning to be losing so many lives?
57. 57. That's a lot. 57. Our fathers, our mothers. Our fathers, our mothers, our brothers, our loved ones, 57. I mean, imagine sometimes when you just put a figure, on it, it's like just a figure. But these are people, human beings like you and me with stories who have just died. Perhaps something that we could easily have prevented. And I'll give you the final word on this as to who you think, whose head do you think we should put on the table for this? I mean, at this point, you speak about the immediate implementation of this training regime that the law allows for. Who should we hold responsible for this if we are to demand for this to happen immediately?
Well, this has been a very difficult question for me as a safety practitioner when people try to nail an institution or an individual to the wall. We see this as a multitask, a multi-institutional approach that we must. In the law, it's clearly indicated here that the licensing authority, National Road Safety Commission, that should be done. We are also looking forward to seeing the Road Safety Commission has come so far. They are very responsive now. Their hands are just tied because they remain commission. Today, anyone at all could pick up a phone, call Etiahene, he answers, calls his boss answers. I spoke with his boss this morning. They are very responsive. They should elevate the commission into an authority so that they can stamp a lot more authority on other institutions that are not doing their job. Their recommendations can have far-reaching consequence than it is now. So while we push the immediate recommendation of Regulation 125, Road Traffic Regulation 2012, we are also pushing for Road Safety Commission to be elevated into an authority so that their recommendations can go far and we can stop these needless deaths.
And this lies with the Ministry of Roads and Transport.
Absolutely, to the best of
Ministry of Roads and Transport. Okay, Nanaya, thank you very much for your time this afternoon and for bringing us, this perspective, very insightful perspective that should help us move the conversation forward. Now, the Bureau of Public Safety, they're speaking about the immediate implementation, and in fact, it's up to you and I as citizens to be able to do this. We need to demand the immediate implementation of this regulation that talks about the training regime, the periodic training regime for these commercial operators. Indeed, we've seen that there is a big gap there. Mr. Kondya, you say that it's gone to the Attorney General.
Yes.
I mean, do you have any idea how soon? And we're hoping actually to get the ministry involved in this conversation. We've tried, but we've not been able to get any representative from the Ministry for Roads and Highways on this to join in the conversation.
Yes, it's been there for some time. But I would like to thank Nanaya for those kind words, except to say that on the point that we disagree, I think we have to look at that part of the law closely. In fact, the Commission, out of that gap, towards the end of the year, have been engaging the Ghana Drive, the Association of Driving Schools, to look at ways in which they could provide some solutions within a certain framework across the regions. And unfortunately, these have had to occur when the planning process was still ongoing. Yes, last week I think we had reason to follow up on this legislation at the Attorney General's office. The information we got was that in the coming week, this week or possibly next week, they would finish with whatever work is being done, and it will get back to the Ministry of Transport, at which point the ministry may decide to forward it to Parliament if it is convinced that the content it's in good condition. So the media and all of us, as interested as we are, would want to encourage that we advocate to ensure that it leaves the Attorney General's office, so that the benefits that we envisage the authority may have with this piece of legislation may begin to show.
Well, I hope that the representative or the Ministry, the Attorney General's Department, they're watching this conversation, because if you do, then the 57 lives on Kintampo, the Kintampo Road alone, in the central region we have 7. I mean, if you add that, we're looking at about 64 human beings like you and me have just died this morning. Well, there's a chance, there is an opportunity for us to right this wrong and to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And one of those is that you quickly work, and those are the Attorney General's Department, that you quickly work on this documentation that gives the National Road Safety Commission the power to be an authority, so that they can then look into regularizing or regulating the work of these commercial drivers or these commercial operatives, commercial transport operatives. So hopefully we can do something about this situation. The lives that are being lost are just too much. Thank you very much for coming. Kwame Kodua-Etiahene, he's the head of communication for the National Road Safety Commission. As I told you earlier, President Akufo-Addo also has some concerns over this. He's been expressing them. Listen.
And I'm sure you have all heard of the horrific accident that took place in the early hours of this morning at Amoma Nkwanta in the Kintampo South District of the Bono region, claiming over 70 lives. My sympathies and condolences go to all the families and loved ones of the deceased. May the Almighty grant their souls peaceful rest. Last year, I set up an interministerial committee composed of the Minister for the Interior, the Minister for Roads and Highways, and the Minister for Transport to examine and propose measures to deal with the increased rate of road accidents in the country. The committee has concluded its work and has made recommendations for the consideration of the Police Council. As the police is the institution charged with the regulation of traffic on our roads, it is my hope that the recommendations will be speedily acted upon and outlawed as soon as possible. As we can all see, the issue is urgent.
Well, Mr. President, we've just been talking about some of the measures that can be put in place, and it includes enforcing the regulation, the regulation that, checks these private transport entities, the regulation that checks their drivers, that checks the maintenance of their vehicles. And the National Road Safety Commission says that they could take this up, but they have to become an authority. We're told that the documents are with the Attorney General's Department. Hopefully, this will help it push through easily. You're still watching The Pulse. We may give to Ando up here. Well, President of the Upper West Regional House of Chiefs, Koro Richard Babini Canton, has been expressing, well, we need to take a very quick break here for sports.